Time to cross the T's and dot the I's. Rest of the week's top story. Joining me now is New York Post columnist Michael Goodwin, Democratic pollster Doug Schoen, and Republican strategist Ford O'Connell. And let's start off with this survey that came out this past week about the fact that 76% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. And at the same time, consumer confidence is at a 5-year high. And on top of that, economic growth for the first quarter came in much lower than previously thought, only 1.8%. Michael, I am confused. If the economy isn't doing great, but people say, hey, I'm happy, confident, right. What's going on?
I think a lot of people are still living on borrowed money of one kind or another. I mean, the paycheck to paycheck obviously suggests that people don't have a lot of savings and that they're living sort of close to the bone for most people. But I think if they're happy or if their consumer confidence is up, to me there's an element of borrowing somehow embedded in this. I mean, whether it's credit cards, a lot of people maybe still living off of the housing equity. If not everybody's underwater, but I still think there's a lot of consumer debt that is built into these numbers, and I think we're a long way from being out of the woods as a result of that.
Doug Schoen?
Well, I think Michael's exactly right. I think there's a lot of built-in optimism because we didn't fall apart in 2008. We've had a slow, perhaps steady recovery with a few hiccups. But the bottom line is there is no confidence in the economy and in people's own fortunes like there was before 2008. And I know a lot of people, I suspect you do as well, who are quietly dealing with lives that are uncertain, insecure, and face real risk and peril in ways that most of us, fortunately, are able to avoid.
Yeah, I don't think people are sleeping as well at night.
No.
Before you're sitting there in the nation's capital, which by and large has dodged the bullet on all the economic problems.
Well, I think this situation is very disturbing, but I don't think it's all that surprising. Americans don't like the budget. They don't like to save, and at times they confuse luxury items with bare essentials. Emergencies happen. People are going to lose their jobs. Some are not going to recover their jobs, and what concerns me is that they're not prepared for the future, and they're going to wind up on public assistance. You know, in 2009, we had 30 million people on food stamps. Today, we got 50 million people. This is a very disturbing trend, but to Doug's point, I think what's really exacerbated this problem is, you know, easy money and, cheap capital.
I've got to tell you, I'm concerned, too, Ford, about where this is all going, because the boomers, this crowd that I belong to, is going to be asking for more, not giving more in the future. In a little bit of a twist, but it's kind of in the same vein, new documentary out. Man tried to live on made-in-America products and finds it nearly impossible. What does this say about the U.S., and is buying American that important? And Doug, I'll start with you,
Sure.
Because a lot of people say, oh, yes, it is, and then they run down to Walmart and buy something.
I think they would say it's important, and indeed if you look at the new Apple commercials, they're talking about how products are created in California. They're not quite talking about where all their products are made. But bottom line, I think when we were kids, and I'm a boomer too, and so is Michael, I think Ford's a little younger. Bottom line, when we were kids, made in America was a sign of pride and confidence. Now it's what's lowest cost, and made in America is something you emotionally care about, practically much less important.
And Ford, to that point, I mean, is it just saying that we're good shoppers, that we want the best quality for the cheapest price?
I think it does say we're good shoppers and we're great global citizens with respect to margin, maximizing utility. But what concerns me here is the manufacturing crisis and what makes the United States vulnerable to foreign disruptions, namely exchange rate fluctuations, trade embargoes, and natural disasters. Rick Santorum, for all of his flaws, pointed this out in the 2012 campaign, and I think it's something we should keep an eye on. Look, America's manufacturing base is strong. It's still 22% of our economy, but what part of the economic diversity of our overall GDP it should be, I don't know, but I think it's something we should keep an eye on, and Josh Miller should get kudos for at least making this entertaining and bringing something that most Americans don't follow to their attention.
Well, and Michael, the numbers I've seen is that we're manufacturing more than we did 10 years ago, but not what we did 30 years ago. So we're
right.
doing better now, but we're doing it kind of like the old farm story. We're doing it with fewer people.
Well, we're doing it with fewer people, and in fact, I think that these two stories we discussed here are related. The fact that we have lost our manufacturing base largely, whether it was autos or big steel, the real heavy industries that provided an entryway into the middle class, a solid middle class lifestyle for a lot of people. Those jobs have gone, in part because of foreign competition. Globalization lets you, as a supplier, create the cheapest product anywhere in the world. Shipping costs are fairly low, but I do think the impact at home is that middle class standards of living in terms of their income have stagnated. So although products are getting cheaper, you can buy a flat screen TV anywhere now for a fairly modest price. The fact is the jobs at home are not supporting that lifestyle.
That is a great point. All right, Michael Goodwin, Doug Schoen, Ford O'Connell. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.